Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be working on a part that I accidentally missed, which is the little flips in her hair. We're going to do those real quick before we start diving into her hands. So we're going to go back in with our phthalo blue, get some of that, crimson, get some of that, and ivory black. We're going to mix those together again. And then we're going to start with the darkest point right in here where it peeks through. And then we're going to go out from this piece of hair, follow that contour and go up. For each section that we drew out. We're going to do that for both sides. So we're going to go draw a line between the strands of hair and the new ones, and then just pull it out. And more heavier on the lower part. And then just get these two little flips. I'm using a 3-0 brush for this. A little smaller because these parts are a little tinier than what we were working on. Okay, then we're going to go in with our titanium white, and starting at the tip of those flares, we're going to pull that down. Starting at the tip of the flare, pull that down. Looks like I didn't get enough. If your color's looking a little off, you can always add a little bit more of what you think it's missing. So I think I'm missing a little bit of phthalo blue. Our ratios weren't the same. It's hard to mix the same color twice unless you have like a scale that you're working with. So then we're going in with that titanium white, starting at the tip and pulling it down. Add in a couple more brush strokes to alleviate some of the harsher brush strokes, but you just want to touch it very lightly. And then if your paint's getting too muddled, wipe it off real quick and then go back in with your titanium white and pull that through. Okay, now that that part is done, we can start on our hands. So we're going to be recreating the flesh tone that we did before, which I believe was titanium white. Clean off your brush so you're not getting that blue in there. So you're going to rinse it out through the Gamsol. We're going to get some medium yellow, some Scarlet, I believe. Yep. Some phthalo blue, just a touch, a little dot. That's all you need. And we're going to come up with that fleshy tone again. Now we're going to start with her fingers. So we're going to go with this darker color underneath her finger. And then in here where this little triangle is, go underneath. And then along the second finger, go underneath. And then for down here, we're going to do the same thing. Go underneath. And then draw a little line between the two fingers here. And round it out. And then go underneath the very tip of her finger. So it should look something like that. Then we're going to clean off our brush. Take some titanium white off to the side and mix in just a little bit of that fleshy color into that titanium white. And then we're going to create a middle ground. So we're going to go right over on top of the lines we just created, just a little bit above, and we're going to fill those in. and then blend them together just using the tip of your brush very lightly. Okay, so now we've come up with a darker color and then it fades into that medium tone. So now we can go in with our titanium white and start working that in on the top, but we're going to feather that into the paint that we just laid down, that mid-tone. That way we get some color in there. Wipe off your brush and then blend it down again. We can't really use a mop brush on these smaller details, so you really just gotta kind of play with it to get those brush strokes out of there. We're leaving her fingernails for now. So then go into the top of that triangle. And if it's looking too dark, just add some more titanium white. Oop, that was a lot of paint. Then blend those two together. Sometimes one long swoop and then clean off your brush, and then follow it up with another swoop. Will do the trick if it's a shorter distance. And then bring this down just a little bit. Okay. And we're going to do our last titanium white on the top of this finger, which would be her ring finger, not her pinky. Okay, now we're going to do her nails, which we're going to go back into titanium white, mix it into that mid-tone that we've already created because we want it a little lighter, and then just brush it into that small space. And then we're going to take some of that darker color and just add it just along where her cuticle would be, and then blend it out just a touch. So now we have something looking like this. And just play with the paint until it looks nice and smooth. Little feather touches here and there will do the trick. Okay, now that we have that done, we can mix up a new color. So I'm going to be mixing up our burnt umber, putting it down here, and our ivory black, and mix that in. We're going to come up with a deep brown. Okay, we're still working on the shadows first and then the highlights. So we're going to trace between these two fingers. We're still using that 3/0 brush. We're going to go under her hand. This one's going to be a little bit thicker than that one that we just put down. And we're going to follow the contour of that little ridge up. And then we're going to go underneath the ridge and then follow it up again. Get some more paint. And then we're going to go underneath, but don't touch into this. Follow the contour of her little bow, just like a half moon or quarter crescent moon, and then in this little tiny corner. Then we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to actually fill in right here with a thicker line. Pick up some more paint. go into, and then we're going to do a line just under her chin. And then under here, where her fingers kind of overlap, we're going to do a line underneath that and fade it off towards the edge here. Okay, now that we've gotten that, we're going to go in with just our burnt umber to create a mid-tone. If I could pick some up. We're going to go in right above that line, kind of like we did with the hands. Or right below, yeah, right above it. And then we're going to trace the outside lines of the gloves she's wearing. And then around the ear of her bear. I think it's a bear. Then we're going to fill this part in with that burnt umber. It might look like we're losing it, but we're not. We're going to bring it back. And then we're going to fill in a little bit here, and then move on to outlining that darker shadow that we created. Put a little line in on top of her glove, so it should look like this. Now we're going to go in not with the burnt umber, but with our mixture of burnt umber and ivory black. We're going to lay some titanium white down next to it and then blend in just a little bit. We want kind of another mid-tone, but this is going to be less vibrant than the burnt umber. We're going to put a little dash here underneath that ring finger, and then we're going to outline this again. It's all about building layers. Just a little outline. It's okay if the inside gets messy, it's the outside that we want to blend in. Blend those colors together. Just feather touches. And once we're done, we'll do some light work with the mop brush. But we're gonna fill in this blank space here with just ivory black. Be careful not to get it into her fingers and into the glove too much. If you do have a little line like this, normally you can just swipe at it, pick it up, and then put some more titanium white down after you clean your brush. Then we're going to go in with our titanium white. And fill in this last part, and then we're going to blend it. Kind of go down into that fold, and then just feather touches to blend that in. I'm kind of doing this fast, but by all means take your time to really blend those colors together. You don't want to get muddied, so you're working on the outside between the two shades. Go back in with that titanium white. And then feather it in around the edges between those two shades. Okay, now we can go in with our mop brush, wipe it off, make sure nothing's on it, and then just feather touches with the direction of her glove. Whether you start at the back working towards the front or the front working towards the back, we want to go horizontal. Forgot to fill in this last little piece, so get some more titanium white and fill in this last little piece here. And then you can just barely touch it with the mop brush and it's going to blend that in for you. Just tap it a couple times. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is fill in her bows on her hands, and that's just going to be our Scarlet color. And then we're going to do the same on this little part of the bow here. On the bear, we're going to be working on the little bows in her hair because I'm really excited to see the contrast of the reds with the blues. I think that especially after we added these bows here, it really brought something to the picture. So we're going to go in with our Scarlet first, and we're going to, leaving this section out that we've drawn out, this little bubble, we're going to start filling this in. Just watching your edges, kind of like coloring in a coloring book. And we're going to leave that part open. So it's going to look something like that. Then we're going to go in with our crimson. Just get a little bit of that. And we're going to go in and just touch some places underneath her hair, going up and then going along the bottom of her bow, and then against her hair here and along the top. Then we're going to feather that in using just the tip of our little mop brush. Careful not to get into her hair like I have. Clean up your mop brush if it gets into her hair at all, and then go back in and do this. Just touch it where the two colors are meeting. That way you keep a saturated crimson and a saturated scarlet. Okay, then we're going to take some of our crimson. We're going to put it down here. And we're going to take some titanium white, put it next to it, and then just kind of mix it together until we get another mid-tone. Add some more titanium white if you have to, off to the side, so you're not mixing in and creating more paint than you need. So just off to the side. And then we're going to fill in this spot. We're going to go just around the edges with this mid-tone. And then we're going to feather that in between the two colors. Feather lightly to blend them together. And then we're going to go in with just titanium white and fill in this little dot. We're going to add some oranges to this later, but I'm not worried about that now, because if we get into that much color theory, I might lose you. Okay, and just blend that out. Just feather touches. Blend it down. There we go. And we're going to be doing the same process on the other side. So it's relatively similar shapes. So you're just going to follow that contour when we start getting into our midtones. So I'm going to pause this here, and then you can pause it on your own screen, and we can do this piece separate, and then we'll come back and start on the bear. Okay, now that we have her bows done, we're going to start on the bear here. So I might need to bring this down a little bit. There we go. Okay. We don't have a lot of time, so we're going to start off with some of the really basics, which is going to be his nose and his cheeks. So we're going to get those out of the way. And all that is we're going to use that same fleshy tone we created for her hands in the last video, which is our titanium white, yellow ochre, and Scarlet and Phthalo blue. Just a touch of Phthalo blue. We don't want to do a lot. And then we're just going to fill in his nose. I didn't draw it into there. It's kind of an afterthought, but we're going to leave a little highlight spot. Right underneath the top. So it's going to kind of come around in an oval like this right here. Make sure that's filled in nice and good. Then clean off your brush, and we're going in again with titanium white. We're going to fill in that centerpiece. Then we're going to blend. We're going to make sure our brush is clean, so wipe it off really good, really quick. And then we're going to use our mop brush to just touch around the edges. Really stipple that around. There. And then we're going to take our titanium white again and add just a little underglow here. And then we're just going to stipple that in. Add some more dimension. It's okay if it gets out of the line. We can fix that when we do his muzzle. We're going to go back in, clean off your brush. We're still using the 0/3 brush, and we're going in with that peachy color, and we're going to fill in these circles. Okay. Now that that's done, we're going to take just a hint of Scarlet, plop it down right where the middle of the circle would be, so kind of towards the bottom. Then using our mop brush, we're going to go in circles and blend that out, just to give him more of a blush. Okay. So we've started on the bear. We're going to work on the rest of the bear next. So stay tuned. Thank you again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Again, if you've made it to the end of this video, then if you could consider liking and subscribing, that would be amazing. That way you can get notified when the next part of the tutorial is out. I know I haven't been posting consistently, but I try to get one out every day or so. So thank you again for watching and have a wonderful day.